This is the white of my hay. That's better. Okay. I suppose just to start with, it's really just a sound check, but there's understandably, for good reasons, been a lot of Italian emphasis in the dinner and the presentation. But if you notice, on the top of the tent there are 4 flags, one at the top of each of these posts, and 2 of them are Italian. Did anybody notice what the other 2 were? Sweden, right? So, yeah.
Ted John.
Right. So I just thought, and it's really not about Ben and Megan. It's just a sound check. But I thought I could inject just a very slight amount of important Swedish culture into this. So just for a second. Hello.
Huh?
Come on. Okay, that's all. Test. Okay, so are the instruments audible and everything? Yeah. Can you hear me in the back? Yeah. Alright, so I am John Hartshorn, and we have Nathan Hartshorn. We are the best men. Best men! 2014! Better than you, Mitch. So there's a fairly long tradition of the best man at a wedding reception getting an opportunity to say some things about the groom to set the record straight, as it were. Now, I mean, we're following some very emotional and heartfelt comments from the folks at the wedding party, and we are definitely not going to live up to that level of emotion. However, we're going to be a little crueler. Sorry, Ben. Yeah. So anyway, we have a presentation for you. It's entitled "He's Been Ben." Way back in 1980, Nate and I had a life. It was great. Best buddies one to another. Thought that we had it made, but on St. Patrick's Day it all crumbled. Mom and Dad gave the stork one last call. Our great life together was over because of a 10-pound Swedish meatball. That's right, at birth Ben weighed 10 pounds 1 ounce. When the OB put him on the scale, it read, "To be continued." No livestock, please. Some parents, when they bring their newborn home, curb her on in a stroller. Our parents had to use a forklift for that. So then the meatball got older, but he was an incredibly aggressive kid. He let his fists do the talking. If he could fight you, he did. Ben was afraid of our basement. I had to go with him because he was so scared. All that beer didn't stop him from shoving Sarah Pollard down on the stairs. I'm too scared to go down there, but hey Sarah, you give it a try. Ben got Megan the same way. I heard that. Sarah Pollard's mother is here today. He's been big, even when he was small. He's been short, now he's sort of tall. But they'll take him after all, 'cause he's been Ben. 'Cause he's Ben. Now, tattling was Ben's favorite hobby. If I saw you doing something, oh well, look out. He'd run to our parents, bet on it, he'd rat you out. Ben was a pest on vacation. When it came to lodging, well, he was a grump. Get a nice room, but he'd walk in and say, "Oh man, this place is a dump." He's been fussy, he's been a rat. He'd turn you in at the drop of a hat. I guess we'll have to forgive him for that. Cause he's been. Now we have a cousin named Jessica. When Ben was 8, she was 17. Ben really liked her ex-boyfriend Paul. When they broke up, Ben just got keen. Jess brought around a new boyfriend named Kirk. Introductions didn't go as she planned. Had a big family gathering, Ben and Kirk, and yo!
Who likes Paul better than Kirk? Raise your hand!
Whose hand was raised? He's been harsh, just ask Kirk. He could sometimes be a little jerk. Maybe he just needed some work. Cause he's been bad. Alright, at this point in the presentation, in light of the title of this song, He's Been Bad, I think it might be necessary to clear up some confusion among several of you in the audience. Basically, this side of the audience, who know our brother the groom by another name. Now, Bob and Connie Hartshorn gave their youngest son a proud name, Benjamin. It's a historic name with much to be proud of. Benjamin was one of the 12 tribes of Israel. It has been the name of distinguished men like founding father Benjamin Franklin, British Prime Minister Benjamin Disraeli, the 23rd President of the United States, Benjamin Harrison, and composer Benjamin Britten. The standard shortened form, Ben, has plenty of distinguished exponents as well, such as former Federal Reserve Chairman Ben Bernanke, actors Ben Kingsley, Ben Affleck, and Ben Stiller, golfers Ben Hogan and Ben Crenshaw, and of course, Jedi Master Ben Kenobi. But in an idea that started with the loopy German exchange student who lived with us in the fall of 1992, my brother has chosen to throw all of that history and distinction to the wind and identify himself as Benny's. There's Swedish disco musician Benny Andersson, whom we just heard, who's one for the 1983 Minnesota Vikings place kicker Benny Ricardo, British comedian and popularizer of the tune Yakety Sax, Benny Hill, Chicago Bulls mascot Benny the Bull, Benny the Ball, who was one of the sidekicks on the 60s cartoon show Top Cat. And then there's this delightful entry from Wikipedia. True Wikipedia entry. Benny is a derogatory term used by year-round residents of the Jersey Shore to describe rude, flashy, loud tourists from North Jersey and New York. Ladies and gentlemen, your groom, Benny. High school and held wild parties when Mom and Dad went out for the night. Party's over, you clean house like crazy, making sure everything was just right. But cover-ups weren't always easy. Sometimes there were things that Ben just couldn't fix. This one party, 2 guys found Mom and Dad's camera and took several photographs of their... Whoa. Almost gave away our PG rating there. We never really heard the end of that story. I mean, this is back in the 90s when cameras had something called film in them that you had to go to a store to get developed. Imagine you're Connie Hartshorn and you're in the photo net, producing photos. All of a sudden you're in a urology seminar. This boy seems to be suffering from low-flow priapism. Mom and Pop's lucky that he wasn't picked up by the cops. But still we've been brothers the tops, cause he's been bad. Cause he's been. One winter I came home from college to find that my brother was taller than me. Been gone a semester, an ominous portent indeed. One night Ben was playing loud music, I turned it off, you may call me a grouch. Well,
and my big brother quite diplomatically threw me over a couch. And he jumped on top of me and slapped a sleeper hold on me, which was appropriate seeing as I was 1:30 in the morning and everyone else in the house was sleeping, despite Ben blasting the stereo. So why shouldn't I get some shut-eye as well?
Got tossed out.
He's been mean, he's been a thug.
He shoved Nate's face into the living room. Maybe he only needed a hug. Cause he's been Ben.
Ladies and gentlemen, we now take a short time out from our humorous musical performance to present you with a special wedding episode of the long-running hit series Benjamin Hartshorn, This Is Your Life. Now, some of you who have seen the sheer number of distinguished guests crammed in here this evening might be forgiven for thinking that the entire state of Ohio is on the guest list for this wedding. But no! Quite to the contrary, one of the most important figures in Ben's young life there did not rate an invitation. But we here at This Is Your Life swooped in to save the day, and one first-class trip later, this luminary from Ben's life is our special guest at Nayashi this evening. So, Benjamin Hartshorn, do you recognize this mystery voice?
Yes, well, I was just there on the street corner, minding my own business. When out of nowhere, these intoxicated fraternity boys, they attacked me. They pulled me on the ground. They started dragging me on the street. Oh, it was horrible. So horrible.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen, that famous celebrity you've all been waiting for. Let's have a warm Nayashi welcome for the stop sign from the corner of Sycamore Street and University Avenue. There, the stop sign from the corner of Sycamore Street and University Avenue in Oxford, Ohio.
I don't have my sheet in front of me, so I'm going to have to improvise. This was April 2000. Ben and I were at Miami University. I was a senior, Ben was a sophomore. It was Mother's Weekend, so our mom was in town. You would think that everybody would be on their best behavior. So, we go out to breakfast on Sunday morning, and our mother's there, and Ben is kind of quiet the whole breakfast, and at the end he has his head down and he says, I got arrested last night. I thought he was joking. He wasn't. So he told the story. So he and about 9 or so other buddies, after bar time, not so sober.
I'm at the end of the table here.
There they are. Anyway, well, they thought that this stop sign here would be the thing that really ties their room together and wanted it for decoration for their house. So they decide to take it. They don't have any tools. That doesn't stop them. They decide to pry it back and forth. So it takes them out. It takes a while. They push back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And they get the thing out only to find an enormous chunk of cement on the bottom. Well, 9 of the 11 guys decide, not such a good idea. I don't want to drag this thing 10 blocks back home uphill. But Ben and his buddy Chris, they are way more determined. So they start to drag it. They get about 20 feet when a police car rolls up. And they go diving into the scrawniest bushes of all time. They dive and try and hide. Needless to say, they are easily apprehended and taken into the police station. He finishes his story. My jaw's on the floor. My mother is as calm as can be.
Meanwhile, on my end, I was in my first year of law school in Chicago, and I got a phone call one evening from my frantic younger brother. Nate, what do I do? I spent the last night in jail, and I got a summons to appear in court. Should I get a lawyer? So the very first legal advice I ever gave out in my career was as a 1L, a first-year law student, and it was, nah, you don't need a lawyer. And of course, Ben ignored my advice and spent several $100s hiring a guy who got him a sweet plea bargain. The next day in criminal law class, we were actually studying a case out of Florida in which 3 kids were convicted of a felony for stealing a stop sign because soon afterward there was a car crash at the intersection they'd stolen the sign from. I told Professor Al Altshuler that my younger brother had literally been arrested for stealing a stop sign from a street corner 2 days earlier. Altshuler thought that was fantastic, so for the entire class session, he used Ben as the hypothetical defendant in our discussion of that case. And that worked so well that for the entire remainder of the semester, Ben was the hypothetical defendant in our discussion of every crime. So let's say that Ben Hartshorn commits felony murder. So let's say that Ben Hartshorn commits insider trading. So let's say that Ben Hartshorn commits enterprise corruption. As a result, as half of the University of Chicago Law School class of 2002 can tell you, Ben Hartzer has an extraordinary criminal career that even he doesn't know about.
But another way to say all that is, he's been drunk and disobedient. Let's be frank, he's been a total inebriant. But he's our brother, so we've been lenient. Cause he's been Ben. He's been a kid, but now he's matured. Really? Megan, he's a good catch, despite what you've heard. So let's raise